can I say it's nice and short. I know a gentleman by the name of Martin Luther King, and he spent his life civil disobedience for the benefit of all. If something was unjust, he stood up for it. Another great man is Mahatma Gandhi. He stood up for civil disobedience. Both of them lost their lives for what they believed in. But they believed what they were doing was just. I believe a gentleman that I know, very nice guy, named Jim Jacobs. He done what he thought was just. Fair, civil disobedience. And he's banned from school property. He can't come to this meeting, and he can't participate in the American, what we're supposed to be able to all participate in, because he had an act of civil disobedience. I was reading Thoreau, and it's all about your conscience. It says a man with no conscience, is he a man at all? If you have he says if you have an undue respect for the law, you will march to your death in the service of some unscrupulous man. So we must have a conscience, and we must stand up for what's right. And I would like to ask the board, would they remove the fact that Jim Jacobs cannot attend this meeting because he had an act of civil disobedience and something that he thought was right. Thank you very much.
Peter Schwartz will be the next one.
My name is Rose Campbell. I've collected signatures, petitions from the people in Galesburg. Most of these people live in the south side of town. The people who sign these petitions don't think that it's fair that Jim and Hattie Jacobs have been banned from District 205. I know some of you may think they are criminals, but most people think that they are heroes for standing up for what they believe. Mr. and Mrs. Jacobs have always stood up for us on the south side of town. They have been the voice for the people that feel like the district doesn't care much for them and about them. What you have done is take away the voice and their right to speak at board meetings. So I am going to give you these petitions. But before I do, I want to talk about something else. I want to talk about the 6 days you have taken from kids and how you have been treating poor people. Thank you to the members who wanted to give days back. But let's get one thing straight. My kids may qualify for free lunch, but I am no deadbeat. But I am a single mother with 4 children at home. I don't just lie around and collect welfare like some you might think poor people do. I work, that's a little over $300 a week. I also do home health care. I bring in extra money. I make less than $20,000 a year. I look around tonight, and I bet that's a lot less than most of you make each year to support your family. When you take away those 6 days, you took food from my children. I've heard that someone wondering what people who have kids on free lunch and breakfast do when our kids aren't in school. Well, I'll tell you what we do. I scrounge around and put together the best I can afford and whatever I can find. And that's what most poor people do. When you took away those 6 days, you also stole education from my kids, from all the kids. And I guess some people that all of this is good because it will punish me and other people for supporting teachers. I think that is just plain wrong. The last thing I want to say is that I also think it was wrong to make people who are having a hard time feeding their kids and supporting their family to pay $70 per child for the Chromebooks. Like I said, I make a little over $300 in a full-time job. Actually, it comes out to $330 before they take taxes. After I paid, thank you for attending the GLC meeting last night. Thanks also for your valuable contribution to the MTG. Thank you for attending the GLC meeting last night. Thanks also for your valuable contribution to the MTG and those Chromebooks. I had around $100 left that week to support my family. And when you consider all the kids in town who are poor, I don't think I was the only one who didn't have much money left. So let the ban on Jim and Hattie Jacobs, give those 6 days and quit putting all this expense on people that can't afford them. Here's all the petitions.
Hello, thank you for giving me a chance to speak. My name is Peter Schwartzman. I live in I am an alderman in Galesburg, and more importantly tonight, I'm a parent of two wonderful girls who are in our elementary school and junior high. My work in the city has allowed me to see a lot of things, a lot of budgets. I recognize now the complexity of those things. But I also look at the future of Galesburg and trying to make Galesburg the city of the future. I want my girls to grow up in the city and return to a city that is vibrant, that is doing well financially, and has a population that is rich in diversity, culture, and have very strong educational values. The best way to ensure that in a city is to provide the best education, public education possible. Another way to do that is to increase the money flow within a city, some of which supports all the workers and the businesses, and some of which, of course, goes into taxes of various forms to support the various parts of the city that make the city what it is. The infrastructure. I feel the decision to cut the school year by 6 days does a disservice and is antithetical to those two ends. It reduces the educational value that the public schools provide. If you're an outsider looking in, it tells a potential resident of Galesburg that my child will have a lesser value of education, a lower level of education. It also reduces the income and the monies that are available to the people in Galesburg. I don't fully understand the reasons why the teachers and the students were punished. I recognize that there are tough decisions to be made at budget time. The $500,000 or so that could be returned to the city's people is essentially, that's a large amount of money. Put it in context, that is what we are currently, a shortage we're facing currently in the city's budget to reconcile the pensions for the fire and the police. And that's something that I have to deal with, and we as a community have to face as well. I think, and I said this to each one of you in an email a couple weeks before the last meeting, I believe the strike was justified. I think the demands were reasonable. I recognize the board is in a tough situation. But if we are going to build the city of the future, we have to start with the top quality education that are the top-notch educational system that we can. And that is in the hands of the people in this room. I thank the teachers for their energy and their continued efforts to make that happen. And I encourage the board to do so. Restore 174.
Next is Angela Bastian.
I'm Melissa Headley, and I was born and raised here in Galesburg. I attended Gale, Churchill, and GHS, graduating with a class of 2000. My husband Matthew went to Costa, Churchill, and GHS, and graduated with me in 2000.
Could
He
you
went on to
speak up?
CSC.
Towards the mic.
Move the mic.
He went on to CSC and graduated with his master's from Valley University. He currently works in Peoria, but we decided to buy a house here in Galesburg and raise our 3 kids here. 2 of my children currently attend Silas, where they are in 3rd grade and kindergarten. My youngest gets to stay home with me for now, but he too will attend Silas in the future. As for the reason I am telling you all this is because I don't want you to sit there and look at me as a person standing here speaking. I want you to see me as a lifetime member of this community, a taxpayer, a wife, but most importantly as a mother. I guess I'll start at the beginning. 2 months ago, I was getting ready to send my oldest back to school and preparing my middle child for her first day of kindergarten, which is a big deal. I bought supplies and new clothes to get them ready, as well as to take them in to see who their teachers were going to be. We were set to go. Then just before the start of school, contracts were denied and we were thrown into a strike. Most of the town quickly rallied around the teachers and supported them in ways never seen before here. Businesses donated items to them, and parents took their children and stood with them on picket lines. I was one of them. I was so impressed at the support my town showed to these teachers. Maybe things would have been different if my town hadn't seen hard economic times leading up to this strike. Maytag closed and a lot of people are out of work. In the years following Maytag leaving, businesses closed and nothing has been brought in to supplement these lost jobs. So when we saw the teachers out of work, we rushed to support them, for we have seen what this could all mean. Finally, after 10 days of striking, an agreement was reached and classes were resumed. That should have seen the end to the turmoil, but it didn't. As the terms of the return to work were released, parents were outraged at what they were hearing. Our children were being punished and given a shortened school year to let the teachers know that they were being punished for striking. But it wasn't just the teachers who were being punished, so were the parents and the children. Since the strike, information has been brought to light through the Freedom of Information Act. As I read through this stuff, all I could say was, wow. I sat here last month, listening to members of my community make a plea to ask that you restore those lost 6 days. But that plea fell on deaf ears. I also sat here and listened how some members were being treated negatively by people talking about them. After reading through the FOA papers, I say it goes both ways. As a mother, I took my children and stood by the teachers during the strike. I didn't know it at the time, but by doing so, I would be labeled as one of the crazies for standing by the teachers and not one of the rational people who supported the board. And I'm okay with that. Because by being a lifetime member of this community, I am applauded in District 205. I had so many great teachers who stood by me and pushed me to become the person I am today. And some of those teachers I stood with on the picket lines are the same ones who helped me through school. So if I could help them by showing support when they needed it, I will do it again and again, no matter what label it gives me. Or when I read quotes, like, as parents and students, when you decided to support the teachers, you better know what the issues are exactly. You better remember that a strike will affect your child, maybe by missed athletic opportunities, maybe by missed free breakfast or lunch, maybe by missed opportunities to graduate at midterm, or maybe by a messed up calendar that now affects your family. Reading this made me angry. When you see almost 68% of students in this community who benefit from those free or reduced meals and who are now going to be missing 12 meals that they could have gotten if those 6 days were given back to them, as a mother, it breaks my heart. So where does that leave us? I don't know. As a parent, you want the best of everything for your children. You want them to have the best schools and teachers to teach them the things they need to know. We know some of the buildings need work, but the teachers we have are awesome. These teachers are willing to go above and beyond for these kids. They were able to put on a smile for the kids that first day back after the strike. They could see the pain and the hurt behind it. The pain and the hurt is still here in the community. When you have a school board set on punishing teachers, parents, and children for striking and trying to make sure it doesn't happen again by denying our children a full school year and refusing to feed children with the free meals given to them by the state, that is wrong. And one more thing, if you can write coherent thoughts with paper with proper grammar and correctly spelled words, you should thank a teacher.
Angela. And next is Emily Anderson. Excuse me, just maybe pull the microphone down just a little closer to me.
Okay, does
Thank
that
you.
work? Okay. Thank you for the opportunity. My name is Angela Bastian. I have 3 children who attend Galesburg schools. I'm here tonight to express my deep sadness and astonishment in the outlash that I have witnessed against one of our school board members. I've witnessed mistreatment through personal attacks, slander, and ridicule, name-calling, and spewed hatred. When did people in this community forget that our school board members are part of this great community? We are all invested in this community, and some people show their passion for this community by volunteering time to serve on boards. Each school board member is a Galesburg resident whom we've elected to serve for us, or on behalf of us. Through this position, each member has accepted the challenge to take on tough decisions and manage the demands that school boards face. The recent attacks on one particular board member has prompted me to be here tonight. I'd like all to know that in my experience in contact with board members, I've never had the experience of anyone that has never taken their job or this position or their decisions lightly. A certain person has always had personal convictions about improving education. In my experience with leaders here tonight, they've expressed their passionate vision for higher quality education in Galesburg and a desire to make a difference for the Galesburg community. There is much value that they see in the education of kids here in Galesburg. Certain leaders here tonight who I've had contact with have spent countless hours spearheading summer enrichment classes or after-school writing classes for kids in Galesburg. My children were fortunate enough to participate in these programs. Galesburg has on behalf of a certain person in this room, has benefited from the passion of improving educational opportunities here in Galesburg, and this board member is responsible for bringing the Instant Fusion program to our schools. Thank you for introducing us to that wonderful program. I'm here tonight to acknowledge our teachers for what they provide to this community and to make sure the school board knows we are not giving up and believing in you. It's easy for people to point fingers, throw out accusations, and be vindictive when end results don't go their way. It's clear to see how the Register Mail and Restore 174 took a certain email and twisted words to fit an agenda. One person, one part of the school board, and one person of District 205 has been targeted. Our teachers and school board were met with some unsavory decisions. Hundreds of people in Galesburg were involved in this process, not one lonely board member. It's time to move on. These are tough times in education in Illinois. The strains and demands of improving education versus the lack of financial support is only going to be more of a challenge for this community in the future. This recent strike has brought out the worst in people in this community. The strike sparked personal attacks, insults, and vicious hatred. These attacks must stop. We will all never agree. Each person is entitled to their opinion or side, but to vilify a single board member is out of line. We need leadership who will stay the course in the worst of times. We need school board members who demonstrate a desire and conviction to make the future of education better for all students. Thank you to all of you for your dedication and desire to make a difference in the education system of District 205. Let's move forward together.
Gabrielle Bailey would be next.
I left my printed copy at home, so thank God I hadn't unpacked my bag from work. Sorry. My name's Emily Anderson. And is this about what you want? I'm speaking tonight as a parent who supported the GEA during negotiations and who supported the strike when negotiations failed. Others of us in this room sympathized with both the board and the GEA. Others supported just the board during negotiations. In each of those groups, some of us were comfortable with the strike in behalf of the union or in behalf of the board standing firm. Others of us in each of these groups just wanted the strike to end. All of us in this room are suffering the consequences of the strike and the failure of negotiations and the fact that we all stood firm. For parents, these consequences included 2 weeks of struggling to find childcare or of missing work. They included the likelihood of shorter vacations in December and April, fewer holidays, and a school year that extended into June. The consequences of a teacher's strike don't include fewer days of instruction. After 14 of the last 16 teacher strikes in Illinois, all of the days were restored to the calendar. One of the strikes, they lost 1 day from the calendar. Fewer days of instruction is an unusual and disproportionate response to a strike. A fiscal blow to local business owners, kids missing extracurricular opportunities, academic opportunities, kids missing meals. These are not the consequences of a strike. It's often hard, it turns out, to get parents whose kids need the meals at school to talk about it in public. And that is, of course, understandable. There's a stigma, and it's scary. I myself can feed my kids, but it is true that for a few months, a couple of years ago, I really couldn't. And thank God for the people who brought me groceries and sent juice or had us to dinner. I can tell you, if you are lucky enough not to know, and I hope that you are, that being hungry is nothing like as hard as having your kid tell you that he's hungry. It's not even close. Or that he's hungry but can't bear to eat any more noodles or toast, which is food that you could do, that you have done everything you could think of to get for him. There's not a parent in this room who wouldn't give up 3 meals before asking her child to give up 1, or give up her own food if it meant that her kids could eat fruit. So far as I can tell, there are about 3,000 low-income children in our district. These children need a free or reduced lunch in order to eat what you and I would consider a meal. A lot of these kids, not all, but a lot of them eat breakfast at school as well. That turns into maybe 25 or 30,000 meals we're not delivering to kids who will otherwise be hungry or undernourished because some of us supported the strike. If someone asked me, do you support the strike enough to let your kids miss 6 days of a good breakfast and lunch, the answer would be no, I don't. I don't support it enough to let any kid give up breakfast. In truth and with limited experience, I can't think of anything I do support that much. It is horrible when your kids are hungry. And if we're being very honest, I don't think anyone in this room supports the shortened calendar enough to let her kids miss 6 days of a good breakfast and lunch. Would you give up your kids' food for a week for this? I think it is too much to ask of any parent that his or her political activity results in the hunger of a child. But even imagining that it weren't too much to ask of us, it's still not ours to give away. My 5-year-old didn't choose to support the teachers. He supports the Red Sox because I told him to. My 9-year-old didn't support the teachers, knowing that a couple of years ago it would have cost him a week's worth of breakfast. And if he'd wanted to choose that, I wouldn't have let him. My friend's daughter didn't choose to sacrifice...
It's time to wrap up.
Okay. 20 days of instruction before AP exams, because these aren't our things as parents to give away. To suffer means to endure. It also means to tolerate. We all must suffer the consequences. Perhaps we can suffer each other's fallibility as well, long enough to put the needs of our children first, as in, suffer the little children to come unto me and provide.